Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. We're going to talk about the utter state of digital journalism right now. We're going to have some real talk. We're going to talk about where things actually are with most of these websites that have been causing fans a lot of headaches over the last 5 or 6 years. Basically, the money is running out. We've done multiple videos on this. The money is running out. These sites are bloated. They've been backed by venture capital, and they do get money from advertising, but the advertising does not offset their expenses. When the venture capital runs out, they're not going to be able to pay their gaming journos $100,000 plus a year, and they're going to start laying people off. We've been doing several videos over the last couple of weeks talking about how Box is going to lay people off. They are already laying people off. Gaming journos at other outlets are highly concerned. We did a video on that their industry is dying. It's dying because they're all getting laid off. And I'm telling you what's going on. The sites that are hiring these people, these activist journalists, are not sustainable. It's not like back in the old days. Even IGN, back in the old days, you would build a website, you would put advertising on the website, and you would pay people accordingly, and they would be sustainable. What's going on now is that these websites were artificially propped up with venture capital. So if there was a deficit in ad revenue, you would just, take another round of venture capital and that would pay for it. Or you would, beg your audience for handouts. Oh, I can't say anything here on Clownfish TV, clownsfishtv.com. You can fill up the fishbowl. No, but what I'm saying is these were like, corporate owned sites that were playing a shell game, and it lasted for damn near a decade. I mean, the old days, comic book resources and Nerdist and, a lot of the gaming sites, the old school gaming sites, they were built by fans. They were built by people who were actually fans of stuff they talked about, Newsarama. And then they sold off to these corporate entities and they just wanted to bleed them dry and use them, put these websites in a portfolio and get round after round after round of venture capital. It's running out. And the ad rates are dropping off a cliff. And I'm going to talk about it as a site owner, not just clownsfishtv.com, but we actually own several other websites. And we've been running websites for about 15 years. So I've seen ups and downs. I'm going to tell you, there's a hell of a down coming. And I've wondered for the last 5 or 6 years, I'm like, how in the hell are these journalists getting paid the amounts of money they're getting paid? And how are they paying for these, New York offices, LA offices? Again, venture capital. Shell game, and it's starting to catch up with them. In fact, Kotaku now laying journalists off. We're going to talk about this. Kotaku that wanted to go on strike for more money. Remember that? 5 months ago, they were going to go on strike. They were going to get more money. Yeah, well, they're getting laid off now. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 273,000 subs. Thank you for the support. We talk about the entertainment industry, we talk about comics, we talk about digital journalism, video games. Of course, there is more news over on clownsfishtv.com, which is independently owned and operated, by the way, out of Pittsburgh. And also, we're going to be producing more comic book content. If you go out to Indiegogo, you can sign up to be notified when Crimson Wren Volume 1 goes live, written by Geeky Sparkles. I helped her with the script a little bit, and Jose Garcia did the art, and it's beautiful, beautiful stuff. It is a prequel to Shadowbinders. This is the origin of Crimson Wren. This is how he became Crimson Wren, his very first adventure. And, it's a story we've been waiting about 10 years to tell. It's going to be in a beautiful 130-plus page hardcover graphic novel format. The book is almost done. It just needs a couple of pages drawn yet and lettered, and we'll be good to go. And I'm coordinating with the printer right now to find out when we can actually get books delivered, because there is absolutely a supply chain issue when it comes to printing. I'm not even going to mince words. So even if we crowdfund this book tomorrow, it's probably not going to show up for several months yet, just because of the printing situation. But go out to Indiegogo. I'll put a link in the description. So yeah, we've been covering the Armageddon that is coming for digital journalists. And this is why I personally believe they are ramping up the attacks on YouTubers, because YouTubers are still doing okay. It's not great. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to be honest here. As a digital content creator, as a site owner, ad revenue's down. It is all across the board. Winter is coming. Companies are not spending money. July is usually down, but July is way down this year. In fact, I put it out on Twitter. I debated about it. I'm like, do I really want to tell people, kind of give them a heads up on this? I'm like, yeah, because it dovetails with everything else that's going on right now, which is why we're going to see people get laid off. July ad revenue, banner ad revenue was down 30 to 50% from last year. So if it's affecting us, it's affecting these big sites, and they have a hell of a lot more overhead than we have. It's basically us, a small office, and freelancers. These big websites are, leasing out these ridiculously huge offices, posh offices, paying people $100,000 a year to write about video games. A lot of these journalists want to unionize. They want, ridiculous benefits and all that. And I think the reason actually for the push to unionize wasn't really the working conditions so much as it was they knew this was probably going to happen. They knew this was probably going to happen, and they wanted to have a parachute when they got laid off. Inevitably got laid off, which I can't fault them for that, because it's scary out there right now. And look, I'm not making fun of people getting laid off. It's hard. I've been there. I've been there multiple times. Every economic downturn, because I always worked in tech and marketing, it was like, yeah, you're not really as necessary as somebody else, so you're gone. And these journalists are going to find out that they're not really necessary. And a lot of these companies might pull a David Zaslav and just burn these websites to the ground rather than pay people to churn out content at a loss. And I think it's probably going to happen. Everything's down. Banner ad rates are down. Everything's in sharp decline. We're not allowed to talk about the recession, but that's exactly what's going to happen. There are going to be a lot of really angry, displaced journalists. We're seeing attacks, ramp up on YouTubers right now from journalists, from comic book pros, from, that Rewriting Ripley? They came out of the woodwork again. And I think this is a huge catalyst, because they know their time is about up, and they're angry that they didn't build a life raft themselves, that they basically thought they were going to work for the company they're working for forever, and that the money was never going to run out. And it's running out at a shocking rate. So I got tagged in on this tweet. BlackSageD tagged me in. This is Brad Glasgow posted. Again, don't contact any of these people. Posted that Ian Walker from Kotaku is getting laid off. So Kotaku's laying off. He said, "Hey folks, today is my last day at Kotaku. I wanted to be funny and do one of those bio editing videos, or say I won the lottery or something, but I'm just indescribably sad. And I'm sorry you got laid off. I am, but this is the same Ian Walker, who posted the infamous PlayStation 5 review, which is why a lot of gamers are tuning out from sites like Kotaku. It is a case study in why a lot of gamers are no longer listening to sites like Kotaku. It started out fine. The review started out fine. They were talking about the specs, which is great. And it was actually a pretty decent article until we got to the bottom of the article. Does it matter? Does it matter how great the machine is? Because basically, the world sucks. The harsh truth is that for reasons listed above, a lot of people won't be able to buy a PS5 regardless of supply, or if they can, concerns over increasing austerity in the US and the growing threat of widespread political violence supersede any enthusiasm about the console's SSD or how ray tracing makes reflections more realistic. That's not to say you can't be excited for those things. I certainly am on some level, but there's an irrefutable level of privilege attached to the ability to simply tune out the world as it burns around you. We got a PS5. Kiki got it for us. It's okay. It's all right. I won't deny that video games can be an escape. It feels great to lose yourself in a fictional world where you can fix everything. Oh my God. Sony and Microsoft chose a hell of a time to release their next-gen video game consoles. I mean, paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. Going on about the state of the world, buried at the end of this review, and they were given a free PS5. This is fundamentally what is wrong with gaming journalism right now. This is why everybody's, jumping ship and listening to YouTubers and listening to independent voices again, because these corporate-owned websites have been infected with people who want to use the platform to spout off on politics. And Ian Walker was one of those people, and they probably looked at it and they're probably like, yeah, you know what? There's a downturn. Now we can use the downturn as a reason to get rid of people that we would have gotten rid of a year or two ago, but we knew there would have been a shitstorm on Twitter. And that's what's going to happen. What's going to happen is these websites are either going to shut down completely, or they're going to pare down, and they're going to use the recession as an excuse to get rid of people that they wanted to get rid of before. Same thing happened at Kickstarter. A lot of the problematic people that unionized and tried to blacklist comics people, they got gone as soon as we hit the pandemic. And Kickstarter was fine. Like a quarter later, they were fine. But these companies are waiting. I guarantee you, the Bobs have already done their job. They already have a list of people that can get cut when things go bad. And they're just waiting. They probably have been waiting for a couple of years to get rid of Ian after this ridiculous review that was widely derided and widely mocked. And that's only one of his articles. I mean, I don't know for sure everything that he's written, but Kotaku has become a laughingstock with a lot of gamers. It is basically the embodiment of everything that is wrong with gaming journalism, just like G4 TV. It went from being for gamers by gamers to gamers are problematic. We're going to use the platform to lecture gamers. And Kotaku is going to be shut down pretty soon. I have no doubt they are. Vox is probably going to be shut down pretty soon, or at least a lot of their brands are going to be consolidated or something. But we're going to see a lot of this. We're going to see a lot of grousing on Twitter. And, again, the attacks on independent voices are going to ramp up, but they're not going to have the platform anymore to really do anything. What they'll do is they'll go bitch and moan in Discord, or bitch and moan on Kiwi Farms, or bitch and moan on Facebook groups, or wherever they're coordinating, and try to get YouTubers and quote unquote problematic people taken out. Because if they can't have a job working as a journalist or a media personality, you shouldn't be allowed to either, because you're the wrong kind of person. You weren't vetted by the hive mind. But it's all changing. I think what's going to happen going forward, which is part of the reason we want to ramp up clownfishtv.com, is that we're going to see a return to what these websites were 10, 12 years ago. At one point in time, Comic Book Resources, Newsarama, and even IGN to some degree, they were pretty solid. They were pretty decent. I mean, I'd love to know how many people go to IGN for the articles and how many people go to IGN just to, get cheat codes and walkthroughs and stuff like that. But at one point in time, they were balanced. They were fan-powered sites for fans by fans. They got big and then they got bought out. Nerdist was a pretty decent podcast at the beginning. As soon as they got bought out by some corporation, it's just like Disney buying IP. They never care as much about it as the people that created it. And they never cared about it. It basically became a tool to market geek stuff to normies. And then they started getting activists working there, because we had a lot of people coming out of college that just wanted to get their foot in the door as journalists. A lot of them, you can tell they're not really into the stuff. I mean, I'm not saying anything about Ian Walker. I mean, he seemed to know what he was talking about as far as the specs, the machine goes. But we do have a lot of people working in pop culture news, video game news, comic book news, that really, you can tell that the pop culture stuff is secondary to them. Like, they're not really passionate about it. They're just putting their time in. They're putting their time in. They actually want to be writing for like the New York Times or something like that, but they're going to slum it at some video game site for a while until they get their big break. And I don't think it's ever going to come for them. These sites were actually legit at one point in time, and we need more of that. We need more independent, fan-powered blogs and news sites. And, by God, if you build one of these sites up, don't sell it. Don't sell it, because as soon as you do, it's done. It's over. We need more independent content. We need more sites. We need more comics, games, all that stuff. You need to take it away from the corporations, because they always bastardize it. They always strip mine it, and then they disembowel it, gut it, skin it and toss the carcass aside when they're done. It doesn't matter to them, but it matters to us. So I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.